What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the new video. Today I want to talk about why men are falling further from God in the modern world. And before we get into this, I just want to address the fact that this is not going to be some super religiously loaded video. In fact, it's going to be the exact opposite of that, because what I mean by this, I think, is going to be something that you've probably never heard pitched this way. And I'm really excited to dig into this. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe, because I'm always posting videos to help you grow as a man in every sense of your life: body, mind, spirit, attracting everything you want in your life. So let's dig into it. The reason I came up with this title and say why men are falling farther from God is not, like I said, in some religious connotation of the word. Now, when I think about God in the sense of how I was raised, in a Catholic setting, to understand God, it was like this very, I don't want to say bearded sky daddy, but something like that, right, that people talk about. But what I mean by this, in the sense of what I want to talk about here, is that, there is a divine masculine spirit that runs through all of us men. Just like with women, there is a divine feminine spirit. In fact, I would say that the divine masculine, divine feminine, they are not necessarily exclusive to men and women. It's just that you're going to find the divine masculine running through men more, and you're going to find the divine feminine running through men more. But we each, all of us in this world, have this capacity to have these energies, to have these spirits run through us. And you can see the divine feminine and the masculine in the world itself, not just in human beings. Now, the reason I'm saying that we have fallen farther away from God and men in this world are falling farther away from God is, I mean that the divine masculine that runs through all of us men, we each have this calling, this responsibility to live out our highest potential, to enact our highest potential in life, to reach that potential and to aim for it, and to not be dissuaded from it, to not be distracted from achieving it. Now, the reason I say that men are falling further away from that idealized version, that what God is the alignment inside of you with that divine masculine spirit, and wherever you believe that comes from, that calling in you, that purpose that you are, given from the time of your birth, that is almost assigned to us, and we can feel it because, most men that I work with, they always end up saying one thing, is that when they uncover that purpose they've been walking away from their whole life, they're like, I feel like I've felt this since such a young age, but I've just walked further away from it. So what I think people mistake is that, when you talk about God and alignment and walking with God, so to speak, this is not something that's exclusive just to Christianity or the modern faiths like Judaism or Islam or anything like that. We see these same type of understandings in ancient religions like the Egyptians and the Greeks. And I'm going to give you examples of that right now. In ancient Egypt, there was something called the Ka, and that was your divine essence. And what that referred to is that when you stray too far away from that divine essence that's in you, that you lose your soul. And this same kind of idea is replicated all throughout religions, throughout human history. And I think what we've always tried to share and understand about these things, whether it's through mythology or religion or something like that, is this idea that we have, each of us inside of us, this highest potential that we can achieve in life. And that highest potential is almost, I want to say, given and granted to us at birth. The problem is that in the modern world, we are so distracted from that highest potential. The way that I always frame this in my other videos when I'm talking and coaching men, and then I frame in my course, The Magnetic Rebirth, my full masculine transformation system, is that you have this choice basically every day you wake up to either take steps towards your highest potential or to take steps further away from it. And the reality is that most men in the modern world, they're walking further away from it every single day, right? This idea of sin originated in ancient Greece, right? What it meant to sin was that these archers would be using their bows, right? And when they would miss this target, the word sin originates from the word hamartia. And when the archers would miss the target they were aiming for, they called it hamartia. And that literally translated eventually to sin. And what sin meant is to miss the mark, right? You're missing the mark. You're not necessarily committing some sort of evil act. And I've talked about this in another video that I posted called Why Men Are Worshiping False Gods in the Modern World, or something of that nature. I can link it here. But the idea is that sin isn't necessarily some evil thing. Now, there are, of course, ways in certain religions where it is evil things like killing somebody or something like that. But what I'm talking about is more that sin is something that gets between you and that highest potential. Okay? It's all these things that erase your ability to make yourself your highest potential in life. And what happens is that the more you take those steps towards that, comfort and addictive tendencies and you're being distracted all the time, you'll see that a lot of those things on that road are what is talked about as sin, right? And across a lot of different religions, across all time and space. The difference is in the modern world, we have different distractions, right? I could sit here and watch this TV all day watching Netflix. Hey, I could play Xbox all day. I could sit and watch porn endlessly. I could sit and swipe on dating apps all day. I could scroll on TikTok. I could scroll on Instagram. And what would happen if I did that continuously, time and time and time again? Well, obviously, I wouldn't be building myself. I would not be walking in my highest potential. I wouldn't be making this video. I wouldn't be in the gym. I wouldn't be training. I wouldn't be making music. I wouldn't be doing the things that I should be doing to take that steps towards my highest potential in life. And those are the distractions that keep me from that, right? And those distractions exist for everybody today. That could be something like being overly fanaticized about sports. It could be getting too caught up with sports betting. It could be getting caught up with alcohol or substances or whatever. Now, the problem is that all of these things I'm talking about, whether it's TikTok or YouTube even, or Netflix, Xbox, alcohol, porn even, these things as they are, they're not destructive just by themselves. And that's the biggest problem that men in this modern world have, is they see these things and they say they're 100% evil as they are. No, what they are is they have the ability for you to get sucked too far into them. My grandfather used to say to me all the time when I was younger, he said, you're going to be very successful excluding one of two things happening. The first one is if you get too caught up with women, right? If you get too caught up with women, you get distracted, you're not focusing on the right stuff. It's exactly what I'm talking about right now. The second one is if you get too caught up with alcohol or drugs or anything like that, because then you're pulling your focus away from those things. You can't operate at the highest capacity of your life and you get pulled away from it. Now, what my grandfather was not saying was you can't ever talk to women, you can't ever have a drink, you can't ever indulge a little bit. But what he was saying is that if you get too caught up in these things, it will divert you away from your path. That's what he was saying to me. And what I think a lot of men are doing in the modern world is they're doing exactly that. They're getting caught up in these modern distractions, in essence, walking away from their highest potential, in essence, walking away from God, from Ka, from these things that we've understood through human history to be running through us. And the problem is that when you do this, right, when you get caught up with the noise and the distractions of the modern world, what happens? It's just that. It's noise, it's distraction. And what happens when you have that? You can't hear that divine essence inside of you. You can't hear that voice in you telling you who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, and why you're on this earth. And that is an extremely destructive force of nature. Because when you are walking away from that, when you can't even hear that voice, then obviously you're completely disconnected from who you should be. And the problem is we have endless possibility for that distracting, coping, numbing behavior. And the reason is that men are now indulging in that more because they're lost and they're aimless and they don't know who they are, because nobody's ever initiated them. Nobody's ever shown them those rites of passage into becoming their highest potential. Most men don't even understand that there is this highest potential that they could achieve in life, that they could work towards. And it's a constant building of that for the rest of your life, no matter how long you're on this earth. The only thing that lasts forever for you while you're on this earth is that purpose, is that calling, is that divine essence in you. Because what you'll see is no matter how secure you believe you are in some relationship or marriage or whatever job you have, or that doesn't matter. Those things can change. People can leave. Your spouse could lose her life. Your girlfriend could walk away from you. It really just depends on you understanding that life is ever changing, and the only constant is the thing inside of you that you are supposed to be in touch with, which is that divine essence. And so why I say in the beginning of this video that men are walking further away from God is because they're walking further away from that divine essence that exists in us. And I know this is a very heavy spiritual thing, but it's really true. And when you are walking away from that, what you'll see is you'll feel, when you're walking away from that path, man, you'll feel anxious, you'll feel depressed, you will feel as if there's something wrong, right? And it presents and manifests itself through the body. Like the body literally does keep the score. It's one of my favorite books, Trauma, the Body Keeps the Score. But you don't even need to have a traumatizing event occur. I see this all the time with men that come to me. They're living out of alignment with themselves. They're not taking care of their body. Their mindset is terrible. And they're not walking in their highest alignment with that divine essence inside of them. They're anxious, they can't sleep, they are depressed, they don't feel hopeful about the future. And to be honest with you, why would you? Because your body's screaming at you. It's the manifestation of understanding that hey, if we don't correct this course, our life is going to be a waste. And that's powerful shit, right? That's really powerful. Nobody's ever telling men when they go into a doctor's office and they have anxiety or depression, it's like, hey man, maybe you don't feel good about yourself because you're not doing what you're supposed to. And your body and your mind knows that. And it's trying to alert you for that, right? Because the reality is we have these wiring systems in us like anxiety and depression and things like that. They're not, evolutionary flaws. They are very specific systems that are designed to get us to do certain things. A lot of times what I find when I've gone through depression myself is that when I was depressed, I wouldn't have slowed down enough to find the voice inside of me and the realizations that I needed to come to that I got through that season of my life. But I could only slow down enough because I was just constantly working and building and training and all these different things that I never took the time to hear that voice inside of me. So now what I do after going through a couple depression seasons in my life is I make sure that I take the time to meditate, to journal, to work with that voice inside of me so that I don't get forced through some big depression arc to be face to face with that. And to be honest with you, it's actually worked for me very well. Anxiety is the same thing, right? Anxiety is this thing that we have that, if we're getting chased by a bear through the woods, we better have that sympathetic surge pop up so we can evade that or fight it or do whatever we need to do, right? But when we're sitting on the couch, we're trying to relax and we're anxious and we can't relax, that's a problem, obviously, right? So what we have to do is figure out, what are these things trying to tell me? And a lot of times what I'll tell you is that they're trying to speak to you and tell you that there's something wrong, right? Because all of us are body, mind, and spirit. We have all three of those, right? The body is our physical manifestation of it, right? We can have muscle and body fat and water and all these organ systems in our body, and they make us who we are in a lot of ways. But we also are our mind, and our mind is what connects us to that spirit if we allow ourselves to feel that and to feel it move through us. And I talk a lot on this channel about a lot of different stuff, whether it's building your body or your mindset, your spirit, or even attraction, or even getting what you want in life. But the reality is, foundationally, if you want to get what you want in life, via women, via opportunities in your professional life, or any of that, it's about being in alignment with this. Because when you're in alignment with that divine essence inside of you, everything else starts to change, right? But you can only feel and hear that voice when you've already taken care of your body, when you're eating correctly, when you're training well in the gym, when you're regulating your nervous system. Then that creates a clear mindset, and you have to be able to have emotional regulation of yourself to focus on the right things that matter, right? Not getting distracted on that path. You need to be able to discipline yourself. You need to be able to have mental resilience to go through the hard times in life. And then when you can do that, that voice of who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, and why you're on this earth, that starts to speak through you, right? And then from there, everything else that you want in life, women, a dream partner, the right house, where you want to live, your dream job, maybe it's a dream business, those things start to find you because now you're the man that warrants that, right? That's the whole point of this. That is what it means to walk beside God. That is what it means to have God speak through you. That is what it means to walk with your divine masculine essence. Now, I promised you at the end of this video that I would give you a gift. I'm going to deliver on that promise because I want to help you do exactly what I'm talking about. I want to help you get to that highest potential. So go down into the description of this video and click on the link or to follow the directions to find my 30-day magnetic reset for you. This is a program designed to help you build your body, your mind, and your spirit. And guess what? It's totally free. Go download that right now. Make sure to subscribe because I'm posting videos, like I said, all the time to help you build yourself as a man. I will see you in that next video.